So the first 15 minutes or so, you're settling and gathering, collecting, recollecting. A sense of stillness in the energy of connecting, the ground, the weight of this released, welcoming these first in this time, in this place. Release from the regrets, remorse, the memories, the good times, the bad times. Not picking up the hopes, the fears, the expectations for the future. As the breath is received and released, in the gift of awareness, in the gift of attention, energy collected, gathered. The now and the here appreciated. The interest in easing suffering, from a sense of well-wishing, wishing the best for ourselves. Energy gathers, collects, reconnects, and recollects. patience in this stillness, patience and capacity to receive and be with, capacity to release and give. My joy in this possibility. A confidence in this capacity. The abdomen rising on the in-breath and falling on the out-breath. The rhythm of receiving and releasing. Gift and gift. Given life through attention and sensitivity. The whole of the body breathing, the whole of the breath. this knowing, this attention given. The receiving of this opportunity, of this here, this now, this place, this time, and the gratitude and the joy of life, as the patterns and the habits are revealed, the natural well-wishing lifts and gathers the energy, understanding, and resting. alert, wakeful. It's it's the 28th of April. Conventionally speaking, this is the now and here that I find myself in. The now and the here that you find yourself in is as it is. Some interesting for me reflection on causes of extra stress and problems that I hadn't really appreciated knowingly. So the ignorance was operating, or unconscious ignorance, not knowing what I didn't know. And there's a sense of compulsion that I use the word tanha as compulsion. Tanha is the upadana, is the clinging born of compulsion. This is the cause, and then the relationship to it is to abandon it. And then the knowledge and right view is that it has been abandoned. And the abandoning is sometimes like left to die, actually, is another way of explaining it. It's been abandoning is you're not pushing it away, you're just leaving it to die. But the kamma tanha, the craving for sensuality through the eyes, ears, nose, tongue, and body, it's quite a obvious thing to explore, the sense of wanting to get this body comfortable and or just experience something pleasant. The other tanhas, kamma tanha, is bhava tanha and vibhava tanha, which is the impulse or the compulsion to become and the impulse or the compulsion to get rid of, and or to destroy in some way. And this is of interest because I hadn't appreciated really that all the efforts and the compulsions to acquire, to get more of, to fill up, to have one more just in case, to get more of, or get more in contact with, or get more. This Bhava tanha is a way of describing it as the impulse to acquire or to accumulate, and the sort of safety that comes from thinking, well, I've got enough, I've got more than enough, and I can get. I'd really like to have more. That impulse is a bhava tanha, and it's a becoming energy, and that becoming energy is going to lead to separation, birth. The birth is a separation because there's a sense of separation in the accumulation, even because there's a sense of getting more and accumulating more. And it stretches, I think, across almost all aspects of our life. Getting more experience, getting more, making our collection complete, finding a way of accumulating experience or things or experience in terms of places to go, things to see, things to read, things to listen to, new things to experience, or just making sure that one has enough of this. And it's an interesting energy of becoming, and born of this becoming energy and this compulsion to do, which is, of course, leading to birth, and you know what the result of birth is. The sense of separation and stress that's involved with that. The eventual, also, death and old age and that. And the other side of this Vibhava tanha is I hadn't realized that the Thai word "bur," which means a sort of over full or bored or stated or full up. When you've eaten so much ice cream that you can't eat anymore and you just want to throw it away, something that was so delicious or so enticing when you first looked at it or first discovered it or first started interacting with it, and then after a time, fed up with it. This is enough. That's Vibhava tanha, and that sense of being over. It's for the monks, it's, when you come to you're putting food in your bowl, and it all looks so delicious when you're all hungry. And then so you put lots of food in your bowl. Then as you start to eat, and you think, I can't finish this. It's too much. And then in all of our experience, when we do that, when we get to that stage of, I've done too much of this. This is Vibhava tanha. It's not just wanting to kill yourself or destroy yourself or get rid of. It's a sense of being over full, and it's different from the sense of disenchantment, which is nibbida, which is actually very helpful. But the which is sometimes translated as disgust, because disgust is not having flavor. Gusto is a Thai way of disgust. So it's not. But the sense of Vibhava tanha is a sense of, I can't cope with this anymore. This is too much. I've had enough of this, something that was so wonderful. And I think it can happen even in very, simple and subtle ways. When you're reading something and, you start to get a bit sort of tired or bored with it. I can't handle this anymore. This is enough. Even if it was something that was quite interesting, that's Vibhava tanha operating. Or the sense of I've had enough of this stimulation. I can't take it anymore. I've looked at this enough, or I've read this enough, or I've eaten this enough. And this energy of being overstated and just wanting to push the plate away, and it's a sort of shutdown of sensitivity. And any shutdown of sensitivity is a rejection of the life that we do have the right and the responsibility to live. And Vibhava tanha is a rejection of this life. It's not that this is somehow, there's no blame in this. It's just a mechanism that works. A sense of wanting to accumulate, wanting to put more on one's plate, wanting to have more of this, more experience, more wanting to get to know the outside world more, reading more of the news, getting more involved with whatever it is that we're really interested in. And then recognizing that at the end of the day, it's enough. And I think it happens across almost all of our activity, and recognizing that this is a cause of stress and abandoning the cause of stress is the noble and the responsible way to relate to it. The practices that we can do are, sense restraint of the senses is a sense of protecting the wounds and the irritations that are our senses, the eye, ears, nose, tongue, body, and mind, are open and sensitive to protect them. Indriya samvara it's not about masking them up, but it's about protecting them a bit so that the energy of the things that will take it so personally of lust and of hatred, the energy of confusion, just wanting to go out there and have a way of containing themselves, of being contained. And the containment is a way of collecting the energy, actually. You collect the energy by containing it and gathering it. And this is gathering and collecting energy and remembering the privilege of it is the samadhi is a way of bringing continuity to this attention, and restraint in the other senses is part of this, and moderation in what we consume. So knowing, how much to bring in, as we consume, the food, when we consume the nutriment of the sense contact, when we consume the way that we what we think about, that nutriment, the different ways that we sustain these things, and having a moderation in that is a way of knowing the balance, so that there's a sense of diligence and heedfulness about what we're doing and how we're relating. So the impulse to just accumulate, there's a moderation in that. There's a way of just not following it, allowing the impulse to, because it's an impulse. It's something that is born, and if you let it just follow its natural cycle, it will end. And again, if you don't get fooled by it, then there is you have the opportunity for a coolness. Nibbida, or disenchantment, is a coolness. It's like you're not getting caught in the trick. You're not adding fuel to the fire. You're allowing the fire to end. The story that I tell often enough is the story of the firefighters around Bramber Castle up in Northumberland. We were camping, and we, by mistake, we neglected the campfire, and it started to spread on the dunes through the tussocks. And so, before the days of mobile phones, the person I was with ran to the public phone box, called the firefighters out, and they came out, and they were all really happy because they had something to do that wasn't so boring. I was sitting around in the fire station, and they didn't bring any water or anything. They just had these sticks with a rubber flap on them. And as the fire burnt up a tussock, they would watch it burn. And then as it tried to spread to the next one, they would just pat the little burning embers and pat them down and stop it from spreading. And that sense of containment and heedfulness was, a real lesson, because it was like they weren't attacking the fire, because if they'd hit the tussocks with these flappy pieces of rubber on the end of a stick, the fire would have spread all over the place. But they let the fire burn down, and then when it started to spread a little bit, they just tapped as it started to spread to the next one, and just contained it that way. With a very short period of time, they'd contained the fire and put it out. That was really revealing, because I think that we have the habit, when we hear, well, I should do this, we tend to attack things. And I think we forget how much that attacking can actually spread the fire. And when I say, well, don't do, accumulation is a type of Bhava tanha, accumulating experience. I shouldn't do anything at all. I need to stop it altogether. Bang it on the head. It's you then are not really listening, because what one has to do is to just know it and not let it spread. So just let things die at their own pace, because if an impulse begins, it will end. If an impulse to do something begins, it will end. And the way to give it the structure or the space, which is what compassion is, what to do is about creating a structure and a space. Compassion is about creating a structure and a space so that there's less suffering now and in the future. That's what compassion is. It needs wisdom. And this wisdom of creating a structure and a space so that there's less suffering. A lot of it's about just, hey, this is what's happening. And allowing the impulse to, of itself, not take it personally, not try not to make more of it, but give it a structure and a space when it can die in and of itself. Notice where it ends and don't let it spread. You're noticing the ending of things. You're noticing the ending of things. And where does thought end? And then you can really, allow, the whole awareness to, trust that sense of giving of attention, trust that sense of the capacity to receive all the impulses, all the possibilities, and not have to act on them. So there's no compulsion here. It's just the intention so that there's and the volition not to harm, not to hate, and not to indulge. Not to harm, not to hate, and not to indulge. These are the volitions that one can practice. And really for this being here that we live with, not to harm this being, not to hate this being, and not to indulge this being. So you've got the ways of the volitions that will actually be in tune with truth. Because there's the confidence that this is something that can be done. This is something that can be practiced. And the impulse to, and tanha, the thirst or the compulsion, does not have to be followed. Because you get the impulse to accumulate is bhava tanha. Oh, I've got to stop all my accumulating. What's that about? That's immediately vibhava tanha. I can't stand this anymore. So you then, so don't act on vibhava tanha either. Because the sense of, I can't stand. Just watch. Trust the Buddha. Trust the capacity to be diligent. Trust the capacity to know, to see clearly. This isn't personal. This is just causes and conditions. And the noble way to relate to the stress is to understand it. We so often come to stress, come to pain, and think we have to get rid of it. But compassion is not about getting rid of stress or pain. It's about giving space for the stress and the pain to end in and of itself. Getting rid of pain, wanting to get rid of pain, is really a good cause for more pain. But trusting the well-wishing, trusting the capacity to contain and to do the best we can within the situation we find ourselves in, this now, this here. This we can do. Of course we wish that all beings were completely enlightened, because that would really make our lives easier. And it would also really help all beings. So we can have that impulse so we're not dwelling in hate, So it's not wrong to have that volition. But recognizing our limitation, this is the limitation that we have. This is the now, this is the time, this is the place. This is what we're working with. So we understand dukkha. This is the way to relate to dukkha. This is the way to relate to stress. We abandon and allow to die the causes of dukkha. We practice the path leading to the end of dukkha, because that's the way to nobly relate to it. It's a practice. There's a recognition that this is something that can be practiced, all the steps of the Eightfold Path, beginning with the confidence that this can be done, beginning with the knowing of dukkha, beginning with, in this moment, abandoning the cause, beginning with realizing where dukkha ends. Where does stress end? Can you make that real? Because it has to be here and now. It's not sometime in the future. It's not like you're trying to stop suffering sometime in the future. It's knowing where suffering ends now. It's realizing the end of dukkha in this time and place. That's the challenge. It's not making it something that's going to happen in the future. Because that's time bound. That's time bound. So I really would encourage you to consider that, so that your practice of indriya sangra, which is a restraint over the senses, a practice of attention to what you consume, so that you know enough how much to consume. Because when you consume, you transform. Now you transform something when you can't consume it. You take it in, and then it comes out again. And this is the, because in conventional terms, there is this sense of separation. No, we consume, because that's the nature of it. And then we transform, because that's the nature of consumption. There's that transforming. This is how we act in time and space. And in this, knowing the moderation in that, knowing enough Dhamma, so that we don't overcomplicate it. All that's needed is a raft, and this body is enough to know the whole universe. These small handful of these is enough teaching. And I was just interested to find another take on this Bhava Tanha, Vibhava Tanha, accumulation and a sense of being over full. I thought that was I hadn't looked at it like that before. Or if I had, I'd forgotten, which is unsurprising because I do forget things. So the sense of accumulation, wanting to accumulate. And I do notice that tendency. I want to know more. Then thinking that knowing more or getting more experience or having more than enough, having more than enough toothpaste, more than enough toilet paper. It's a whole business of bhava tanha, and then feeling, I can't cope with it anymore. This is too much. I just need to throw some stuff away, throw some stuff out. And that vibhava tanha business is, how can I get rid of this? Too much. And then I just thought, wow. So I offer this for your consideration this evening, and now if there are any questions, I'll be welcome to take them. If you want to type them in the chat box, I'll be happy to try. Do what I can. How can we maintain oh gosh, George, we got your stuff there. How can we maintain some lucidity and tranquility in the midst of the storm? With difficulty, George. It's I think, notice, the trust that we have is in the Lord Buddha. The trust we have is in the knowing. The sense of knowing is actually really steady if you let it be. We just spend most of the time ignoring what's actually happening. So know what knows the storm. That is what's lucid and tranquil. That which knows the storm is lucid, is tranquil. Know the knowing. That's the way out. Even if it's only for a moment, a sense of gratitude for that knowing, and reconnecting with that knowing. Yes, all the five aggregates are sankharas. They're all sankharas. Sankharas is a whole portmanteau word. There are different ways that the word sankhara is even used. So it's even more complex than that, but it is a portmanteau word, everything that comes together. For the image of a light beam that doesn't land on any surface at all. I don't know. That's a quote from some book, and I'm not sure which book, but I'm sure that it does mean something. I think, all the images that people do give, if they help, they use it as a tool that encourages you to practice. That's why, that even the idea that Bhava tanha is the tendency to accumulate. It's an idea. And that way of looking at it was just gave me another way to use that tool, the idea of Vibhava tanha and Bhava tanha. And if the idea of a light beam that doesn't land on anything is a helpful idea for you, then use it. If it helps reduce, if it's a structure that helps reduce your suffering. The Dhamma is a structure of thought. The Vinaya is a structure of action. These Dhamma Vinaya was only developed and taught to provide causes and conditions whereby beings could suffer less now and in the future. Well, that's the story. So if that's the way that you use that thought, that it reduces suffering for you now and in the future and for others, then use it. No, both the saddha in the five spiritual faculties is saddha in the possibility of awakening. So maybe people don't have enough saddha, so they don't develop the panya. So I'm not sure that people say more saddha than panya, because it's both. The five indriya, saddha, virya, sati, samadhi, panya, the five faculties. Panya and saddha are balanced by sati. You need both. And virya and samadhi. Yeah? Saddha, virya, sati, samadhi, panya. Okay. So it's virya and samadhi. So these are the five spiritual faculties that all human beings have access to. They're faculties, indriya. When they're developed, they become powers. Powers that one can connect into. So for a Sotapanna, they're powers. Yeah. The 100th, no, it's not 10,000 prostrations, it's 100,000. And that's, you need to do 100,000 prostrations, 100,000 refuges, 100,000 offerings. And it takes a long time. I spoke to people who've done this, and I spoke to people who've had to do it the whole cycle 3 times. I'm not sure that it's Sila Bhatta Bharamasa, but it's certainly when Ajahn Chah saw how you could do a full length prostration, he said, that's a really good bow. Because sometimes the bows in Thailand are not very impressive. And when I spoke to somebody about it, they said that, if you do 100,000 prostrations, really, if you get only, it'll take you, if you do it full on, it'll take you about 3 months. And, it's a good practice. And then maybe you'll get 1 or 2 that are really proper prostrations out of it. And you can see with any practice of anything, it does take a lot of effort. I don't know how many times I've chanted the Dhammacakkappavattana Sutta. I don't know whether it might be 100,000 by now. And I don't know how many times I've bowed, because we bow a lot in this tradition. We are, So it's not wrong, and one can see that in some traditions it's a way of expressing confidence and commitment and willingness to learn. Because the whole thing about a prostration is that it's a sort of act of surrender, surrendering to the Dhamma. In that sense, it's almost like Islam. It's a bowing, which is weird, but it's a helpful thing. And I can, as everybody remembers, me saying, I can remember saying, I'm never going to bow, to myself anyway. That was a long time ago. I quite enjoy it now. And I see the value of it. I see the value of Sri Lankan children bowing to their parents before they leave the house, before they go to school. It's a reminder to the parents that they have to behave like kind gods. Because parents are, at a certain age, parents stop being slaves and start being gods, as they have control over their children, and their children have to pray to them to get stuff done. Any more questions? Uh-huh. So samadhi is the seeing or the noticing of the end of bhava and vibhava, nirodha. Samadhi is calm and continuity of attention. Samadhi is the 4 jhanas. That's the book definition of samadhi, and there are plenty of books about samadhi. But I do feel that noticing what's not suffering, making real what's not suffering, is a noble way. It is the way that the relationship to the third noble truth is described. The end of suffering is something to be made real, to be realized, and is realized. And if one recognizes that all the Four Noble Truths are recognized and practiced together, recognized, realized, practiced, and abandoned together, to the degree to which one knows one is the degree to which the others are also. So they're not somehow separated. It's not one and then the other. They're all this moment practices. So what's not thinking? What's not accumulating? What's not getting rid of? What's not holding on? What's not pushing away? What's has the sustained capacity to receive life and to give attention and to release expectation, hope and fear.